It is the 13th day of the month of June 2013. Tonight, finance ministers from the East African Community released their fiscal budget for 2013 to 2014 as Iran presidential candidates prepare for a showdown in Friday's presidential vote. Hello and welcome to the news at 8. I am Eugene Anangwe and these are the stories making headlines.
East African Community Finance Ministers and Cabinet Secretaries unveiled 2013 and 2014 budgets. Culprits in the murder of a passenger in a bus heading to Kampala still at large. And Iran's election may not really be about picking a president. TV10 brings you an analysis on the vote.
Now, finance ministers and principal secretaries of East African Community member states have unveiled their country's 2013 to 2014 budget. In its ambitious budget, the Rwandan government expects to spend a total of 1.6 trillion Rwandan francs, up from over 1.4 trillion Rwandan francs last year. Now, the government has allocated 114.8 billion to finalize construction of the Kigali Convention Center. The government, according to Finance Minister Clever Gatete, does expect to fund the budget by getting 994 billion Rwandan francs from internal revenue and 658.6 billion Rwandan francs from donors. Now, of course, Thursday was not only a busy day for Rwanda's finance minister, but for the ministers in charge of treasury in all the East African Community member states. Now, except for Burundi, George Nirango takes us through the unveiling of budgets in the other East African Community member states.
In Kenya, the government will spend a total of 1.642 trillion Kenyan shillings. While releasing the budget, National Treasury Cabinet Secretary Henry Rotich said that the key message in his country's budget was transformation for shared prosperity. Among the key points to note in Kenya's 2013 budget projections are that the Kenyan economy is expected to grow by 5.8% in 2013 and 1 million jobs expected to be created yearly. Of the 1.642 trillion Kenyan shillings budgeted, 97.7 billion will be allocated to roads, 22 billion Kenyan shillings allocated to the railway line from Mombasa to Kisumu, and 12.5 billion allocated to the geothermal development. In Uganda, the Finance Minister Maria Kiwanuka presented her country's 12 trillion shilling budget for 2013-2014, announcing a 10% tax increase on all alcohol sold in the country. The roads and transport sector has been allocated 2,395 billion Ugandan shillings, up from 1,650.7 billion Ugandan shillings the previous year. The country also expects to create 150 jobs in the ICT sector in the next fiscal year 2013-2014. Burundi, a member of the East African Community states, did not have its budget read today alongside the rest of East African countries, as it has not yet conformed to the East African Community Constitution. Zanzibar Minister for Finance Omar Yusuf Mzee unveiled a 658.5 billion shilling budget projecting stable economic growth and falling inflation. The budget projects stable economic growth and falling inflation, and the country is to spend more than half its budget on development of infrastructure, ICT, and electricity.
Now, moving on to other stories, Rwanda stands to gain from its recent ranking as the 5th best destination for investment globally. The ranking, according to the Profitability Index by Foreign Policy magazine, indicates that Rwanda is likely to pull in more investors into the country. Here's Mary Murerwa putting that story into perspective.
The profitability index by the US-based Foreign Policy magazine ranked Rwanda on basis of asset growth, preservation of value, and ease of capital repatriation, and says that Rwanda is likely to pull in more investors from ranking, increased government spending on infrastructure to steer rapid growth in the country.
In Rwanda, atmosphere of business is really very nice. To import goods, it's really very good. Business is good, and for the investment, it's really very nice to invest in Rwanda.
Business opportunities are very vast. You know, Rwandan people are very friendly, and they accept the new things very easily. They want to go ahead in the technology.
Last year, Rwanda was ranked 8th easiest country in the world to start a business by the World Bank Doing Business 2012 report. Rwanda has further modernized the business registration process by introducing electronic business registration.
It used to take almost 10 steps. 10 different steps to start a business, and you had to go to different institutions. You had to pay in a bank, you had to go to the Ministry of Justice to get a form, you had to have it notarized somewhere else, you had to do different steps in different organizations before you actually came to register your company. Now, because of the reforms that we've had, we put all those services in one, actually on one desk. We've removed the ones we don't need, and we've kept just one step, and that one step is fill in a form that we give you. It's a standard form. So today when you come, you fill one form that does everything.
Mary Umrelwa, TV10.
Well, we now take a short breather, but when we come back,
you may have used them or had a thought or two about them, but we will tell you the story of this new and upcoming mode of transport within parts of the city. Don't go away.
nitwa Odette Kayirere, nkora mu muryango wa Gahozo, nkaba nkoresha telefone cyane amasaha menshi kubera nk'uko muzi umuryango hari ibibazo byinshi abantu bakora nko contact bavuganira byinshi cyane rero ku buryo nyikoresha cyane ku buryo rero sinumva yuko gemba nkina ahubwo mbakora cyane kugira ngo dushake ibisubizo byinshi bishobora gukemurwa ku banyamuryango bacu. Bampamagaye numvise binejeje ntuke nkinaho mu nkora nkorera abandi noneho byarimo n'indi nyungu ntari nakeka.
Nitwa Rugamba Emmanuel, nkaba ndi umunyeshuri niga umwaka wa 5 secondaire. Jewe Rugamba kabisa nishimiye kino gikorwa cya MTN cyashyizeho cyo kuyora cash. Nishimiye ibyishimo byinshi cyane kubona nsindiye miliyoni y'amafaranga ntabwo nayafata mu ntoki, ariko uyu munsi nayafata ndayumva ndanayagejeje.
Welcome back, and many thanks for staying with us. Now, bicycles were introduced in the 19th century in Europe and now number more than 1 billion worldwide, twice as many as automobiles. Now, they are the principal means of transportation in many regions. In parts of the city, like in Remera and Kichukiro, they are a source of livelihood for many. Here's Mary Murerwa looking at that story of the mode of transportation.
It is a busy day as usual for these cyclists, all of them working hard to get a client. Next to them are motorcycles, considered more superior modes of transportation compared to their tools of trade. But all this is not stopping them from competing in the transport industry.
We have no problem with the bike riders because we do not work in the same areas. Bike riders only ride in roads that are not tarmacked. They also only work with people who want cheap means of transport. For us, the minimum we can charge is 300 francs because our motorcycles need a lot of fuel and bike riders only use energy.
The cyclists, however, are not allowed to go beyond the tarmac roads. This is worrying to them as soon as all roads will be tarmacked. Looking at the state of affairs here, one wonders whether motorcyclists feel threatened by this mode of transportation. Their services are good and affordable, according to this client.
I like using the bicycles because it is comfortable for me. I have no problem with it.
However much these motorbike riders meet a lot of challenges, they say it's a source of income since one can afford to get between 3,000 and 4,000 per day. It's a source of income to them and their families. Mary Umurerwa, TV10.
Quite interesting looking at Mary Murero having that free ride over there, joining my colleague George Ndirango, aka Mr. Freebies, over there. Now, moving on to other news, attackers of passengers in a Jaguar bus that killed one passenger are still at large. The family of the deceased, identified as Rukundo Jean Bosco, is now calling on security details to increase security on the roads and also bring the attackers to justice. Speaking to TV10 in a phone interview, the deceased sister Amina Mukarushaga said that his brother's murderers could have been planned, or the murders could have been planned, rather.
When they entered the bus, searching everywhere, everyone was told to surrender all they had. He pleaded he would give them all the money he had to let him go, but instead, they shot him 3 bullets and he died on spot. I suspect the people behind his murder, probably some who might have known him, because some time back he was robbed of his money but wasn't killed. I'm requesting the authority to tighten the security on roads.
Now, the Jaguar Bus Company says that the case is now in the hands of the police.
Together with the Ugandan police, we have continued to investigate the terrible murder and robbery incident that happened. We are planning with the Ugandan police to accompany them from the Ugandan border, Gatuna, till Uganda safe and sound. We are still planning on it and have encouraged our clients not to get discouraged.
Now we move on to regional news, where Zimbabwe was plunged into fresh political crisis on Thursday as Prime Minister Morgan Tsvangirai vowed to fight a unilateral decision by President Robert Mugabe to hold elections on 31st July. Mugabe used temporary presidential powers to declare a vote that would see an end to their uneasy power-sharing agreement, while Mugabe's move would comply with a constitutional court order to hold elections by the end of July. The date of the vote is fiercely contested. Tsvangirai has vowed to veto any election date that comes before democratic reforms are put into place, fearing Mugabe's ZANU-PF might once again attempt to manipulate the vote. Now, previous Zimbabwean elections have been widely condemned as rigged. We now take a short break once again, but a reminder that you are watching this live news broadcast coming to you live from our news center. This is what's coming up ahead.
A deep look at the vote in Iran. We are back in a moment.
Can't you see? The moon belongs to us. Come fly with me and chase the stars. Can you see that even the clouds will listen?
Le service auquel on ne s'attend que dans les airs. Brussels Airlines, vivez notre passion.
Welcome back, and many thanks for staying with us. And of course, on the eve of the first round of the Iranian presidential election, we at TV10 are today going to be looking at the issues at hand in that presidential vote that will be taking place tomorrow. And with me in studio is my colleague Mary Damark, who is a keen follower of the issues happening in Iran. So, Mary, welcome to the news program. Now, first of all, we're going to be looking at the issue of the current president today. The current president today, Ahmadinejad, a quick question that comes at mind is, will he or is he able to vie for these presidential elections?
The answer is no, it cannot, because Ahmadinejad has already been twice elected as the president of the Islamic Republic of Iran, and the constitution of the country does not allow someone to be candidate more than 2 times.
So this definitely means that it is the end of the road for his, tenure or political career as president. Yes. So how do we gauge his legacy? How can we, gauge Ahmadinejad and say this is what we will remember Ahmadinejad for?
Well, actually, the balance does not really look good, because the president Ahmadinejad must be on the same wavelength as the political and religious leader of the country, which is Ayatollah Khamenei. But since Ahmadinejad was elected in 2005, there was a concert of the religious who work for the regime. They saw that he had an agenda to get rid of them and or reduce their influence. So several of his followers were jailed or dismissed.
So I understand that the candidates for tomorrow's election are gearing up for a showdown. Briefly, if you can give us a brief, note of who are these candidates and probably who are the favorites, or who should we expect to get what in the election?
Well, actually, there are 6 candidates, including 5 conservative, and there is also 1 moderate conservative. No reformist politician has been allowed to be a candidate, and there is no one.
Okay. So finally, in African elections, we've always had, in many cases, issues of, those who lose saying that the elections were not democratic. What should we expect in the case of Iran?
Well, actually, Iran is not a democracy, but it's a republic, and they try to organize fair elections, especially after the tragic events of 2009, where elections were contested and the massive fraud that led to Ahmadinejad staying in power. So it's hard to say, but yeah,
we can only wait and see.
Yeah.
Definitely.
The expectation is that it should be less worse than 2009. All
right. So we'll be taking a look at those elections. We'll be giving you a coverage of those elections right here in our newscast. But of course, it is that point that we come to an end of this news bulletin. But before I leave you, let's have a look at the stories that made headlines.
East African Community Finance Ministers and Cabinet Secretaries unveiled 2013 and 2014 budgets. Culprits in the murder of a passenger in a bus heading to Kampala still at large. And Iran's election may not really be about picking a president. TV10 brings you an analysis on the vote.
And that's it we had for you right in the news. Feel free to share your views and comments to us by writing to news@tv10rwanda.com. My name is Eugene Anangwe, and goodbye for now.